Okay, hi, I'm Beth Joseph. I work in the storage marketing organization at HPE. In this section, I want to talk to you a little bit about our primary storage portfolio. And I have with me my bodyguards over here. So, as we start to get into the hard questions, they're going to help. Right, guys? Okay, so our primary storage portfolio, I'm going to actually just build this slide out so we can see it all at once. We've got these 5 storage arrays that make up the portfolio. The MSA down here, I think you all know the MSA. It's been in our portfolio for, Calvin, how many years do you think?
Wow, long time.
Yeah, long time. We don't even know how many years. But
yeah, but back 99, probably before that.
Right,
it was designed by an all-Velociraptor team.
Exactly. MSA has been like a true workhorse for us. It's great for customers where price point is key, right? It's general purpose workloads. We sell a lot of them through partners, right? And they've been a great product for us for all these years. Nimble Storage was added to the portfolio a couple of 2 years ago. Great simplicity. Nimble brought with it InfoSite, right, which helps with that great simplicity. Still the resiliency that you need for business critical apps. It has had that customer experience that our customers loved, right? No level 1 and level 2 engineers with InfoSite, right? So that customer experience was like something that nobody else had. And we continue to offer that with Nimble Storage. It's great. 3PAR, I talked about 3PAR in my last little session there, but 3PAR has been in our portfolio. I can tell you this one, Calvin, 2009. Was when we acquired 3PAR, right? Yep. Large consolidation for business critical workloads, still a big part of our portfolio. I think there's 70,000 or so of those out there in the market. Customers love them. HPE Primera is the new mission critical tier 0 product that we launched at Discover in June of this past year. You can see underneath there extreme resiliency with agility of the cloud for mission critical apps, right? So this is truly our tier 0 mission critical solution. Comes with 100% availability guarantee these days. And then for those who've been paying close attention, just in the last couple of weeks, we launched XP8, right? So this XP again has been in our portfolio for
1999, May 5th, 1999.
Wow, Calvin knew that. So another good part, long-term part of the solution. This product is for customers who need that extreme level of resiliency, and frankly, where budget is not a concern to them. It's also for customers where they have mainframe requirements and nonstop requirements. So we kind of built out the whole thing, right? But this is the current lineup. With these 5 products, as it says at the top, the industry's broadest and deepest flash portfolio. So then when we talk about, so start to boil this down a little bit, right? So how do we talk about tier 0, tier 1, and tier 2 storage? This is how we've defined that, right? So tier 0 is clearly mission critical apps, right? A customer who says, you can see it on the slide here, any downtime will cripple my business. I have extreme latency requirements. I have extreme resiliency. They want that 100% availability. And for that, I'm willing to pay a premium. Oh, I can turn my phone off.
That's dingy.
Yeah, thanks. Whoever was talking about robocalls earlier, there you go. Business critical apps, right? This is how we define tier 1 storage. I need a fast, resilient system that my business can count on. But you don't necessarily you need those good SLAs, but you don't need that extreme level of resiliency. And then general purpose apps. I need an efficient system, easy to manage, delivers great performance, but it doesn't necessarily need that high level of IOPS. Or you can deal without the sub-millisecond latency. So this is our definition of a tier 2 array. So this just gets into it a little bit more. Mission critical, business critical, and general purpose, and how we classify them, right? So Primera and XP8 fit into that mission critical space. Business criticals, Nimble, all flash, and 3PAR. General purpose is Nimble Adaptive Flash. A lot of customers will still be happy to use some combination of solid state and spinning media with our Adaptive Flash version of Nimble, and then the MSA. So that lays it out. That's what the flash portfolio looks like. I know you're going to hear a lot more about Primera in this session today. But if you have questions on any of these, like I said, these guys can help us address those. So anything, or do we want to wait till we get to
I'll jump
Premier?
in, sure.
All right. I know you asked the first question at our press event in June even, right?
It's kind of my thing.
I know, yes.
So, yeah, I don't get to be on this side of the table all the
good.
time at Tech Field Day, so this is exciting. So I was wondering, the difference between mission critical apps and business critical apps, the difference between Nimble All Flash and Primera, it was just a little bit confusing to me, especially with XP8 still in the mix. So, I mean, I can understand that XP has different protocol support for specific applications,
Right.
but how do you differentiate Primera from Nimble in the marketplace?
It really comes down to the workload and what the customer needs. A Primera customer is going to be somebody who that 100% availability guarantee is a big deal. It's been actually something we did for the first time in this space, with Primera, and it's been well received. I think that Nimble offers that ease of use experience, still great resiliency, right? But it has.
Does it mean that Primera is hard?
No, it doesn't mean that Primera is hard. No, and that's always something. Tell you, it's something we struggle with, because if we say this about that, does it mean the other one's not, right? But it doesn't mean that at all. It really comes down to the workloads that the customer wants to use, And I'll tell you that, like InfoSight, for example, is a game changer for a lot of customers. InfoSight is probably more developed on Nimble right now than it is on any of the other platforms. So some customers will choose Nimble for those types of reasons as well. But it's really just comes down to their workloads, right?
I mean, the reason I bring it up is just because the Nimble team was basically positioning Nimble as a mission-critical product, and certainly it is a well-engineered product. So, do you find that you have trouble positioning that in the marketplace, especially because there's some similarity between Primera and 3PAR, and so the question that customers might have is, how come this is now above that?
Well, so Primera is I will say above, if that's the right place, above Nimble, because it offers that, mission critical customers are customers who needed that level of arrays. They've had to trade off, right? Do I get some simplicity or do I get agility, or do I get resiliency? I don't really get both, right? So we tried to fill that problem or fix that gap with Primera. With Nimble, you still get 6 nines of availability. So you still get rock solid availability.
Exactly. There's a lot
right?
of 9s on the website.
Exactly. There's a lot of 9s.
6 9s for everything.
Yeah. But Alex, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm bringing in the bodyguards now.
Here, step on up.
Yeah, come on up.
Well, the bodyguards or the heavyweight. It depends how you look at it. So basically, it's a great question, right? I mean, there is an overlap with the product. So product is one thing, platform is the other. Mission critical with Primera, you get some things that you don't necessarily get with Nimble by design. One of the things you don't get with Nimble is scale out. Because again, Nimble is not a scale-out platform. That's not how they were built, and that's not what they're achieving. So what does scale-out give you? Scale-out usually gives you predictable performance and predictable growth. I mean, mission-critical customers are savvy about, well, savvy is a strong word. They are worried about their workload growth. And yeah, I see someone smiling. I probably had experience with customers saying, well, we know exactly what our workload is, and they know nothing. It has been our experience that 95% of customers actually have no idea what their workload is, but they want it to run without interruption. So Primera will scale where Nimble will not, again, by design. That's number one. Number two, the predictability of performance is important because, and I will talk about this, the latency in a primary storage is of paramount importance. It's more about the latency than it is about IOPS, and Primera is engineered to deliver predictable latency. And one more thing is the intelligence part is, it's not about how much hardware you have. Well, XP definitely has more hardware than Primera. I mean, that's a given thing. It is how you adjust things on the fly to deliver what you need for mission critical. It's resilience, it's your application portfolio, it's how do you build a complete solution. Primera is engineered to deliver a mission critical solution. Nimble is engineered to deliver business critical. They're both exactly what they need to be, and you need to look at the solution, not specifically at the hardware. And I'll cover some of that stuff in my Primera deep dive. It's a shameless commercial.
No, but that's a good way to put it, that
Yep.
it's about the solution, not necessarily the specific hardware. Because, I mean, it's not like HPE decided, oh, you know what, we'll make this one like fail sometimes or something to differentiate it. Like, you're not going to design.
Oh, no, right. Yep.
So, it's they're all pretty good.
Yeah, they're all pretty good.
Even going down like to the MSA, I mean, I've had like some people that older MSAs a few generations ago, yeah, they had problems where the failover between controllers wasn't great and maybe not as reliable, but even MSA now, I think some of the internal data we have says it's getting close to 5 nines. I mean, for an array that you can get dual controllers for about $5,000 and then add storage to it, if you get 5 nines out of that thing, I mean, it's not a guarantee, but that's what it's getting close to. This stuff is just getting reliable now.
Well, I mean, after years and years of engineering and support and problem resolution and so on, they do tend to get pretty good.
Yep.
Even, as you said, a system that was never really designed to be like that.
Good. And like Alex said, he's gonna do a whole session on Primera here shortly, so we'll
Good
hear more
question.
there.
What was the biggest influence InfoSight had in the design of the Primera and the latest iteration of Nimble? Have you seen
talk
a
about
lot
it,
of?
Site? Yeah.
I mean, it's a great product. I just want to hear, what the impact internally and how it affected the direction.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for that. So this is a truly excellent question. And the definition of an excellent question is the question I have a slide for. And we'll most likely cover this, but to make a long story short, I'm not going to talk about InfoSight because there's going to be a whole session about InfoSight. But the idea of InfoSight is strategically for Primera is, we have lots of arrays out there in the field. So they provide lots of telemetry for us. Maybe we can learn something about how customers use the systems and what happens in the arrays, and we can leverage this to make array behavior more predictable, more agile, and do more with less hardware. So basically for Primera, InfoSight was the enabler for the onboard intelligence, which is going to be an inseparable part of Primera architecture going forward. So InfoSight is a gigantic data lake. It truly is a big data analytics system. But that data has nothing to do with customer valued data. I mean, we don't look at bank accounts and stuff like that. We look at the array telemetry, and that's like zillions of gigabytes of array telemetry, and we can glean behaviors and patterns that were not obvious before InfoSight. InfoSight was an enabler for Primera optimizations going forward, and I will cover that. Okay?
Thank you.
And I'll just add to that too, that in that place where we've inserted Primera into the market, there was not a solution that was InfoSight-like, right? We started to go down that road with 3PAR, but that experience, that user experience that we got with Nimble, we didn't have. I mean, like I said, started to introduce it with 3PAR, but we really thought it was going to make a huge difference to customers who never had that when they had those high availability, mission critical, 6 nines. 100% availability type of situation. So this was a kind of a new thing to introduce to that community, which has been cool.
Yeah, InfoSight was an incredibly valuable thing. I mean, when we were, so Nimble appeared for the first time at Tech Field Day number 3, and we watched them grow the InfoSight product, and we were all just blown away by what they were doing with InfoSight. So my assessment when HPE bought Nimble was, wow, they bought InfoSight, in a storage array, because it was such a good, useful, kind of an industry-leading product, and I'm so glad to see that it has been only enhanced since. I mean, to me, again, that was the big thing about Primera was the fact that it was so InfoSight focused.
Right. Yep. Good.
Probably can't share the exact number, but actually my son-in-law works on the 3PAR InfoSight team. I had nothing to do with him getting the job. Nothing. And he just told me the other day how many, the big part of what InfoSight does is they get these signatures, and those signatures then go out and look for those things that happen. Are you nodding at me that I can say how many? Oh, you're going to talk about it? Okay. So those signatures are really what's key to what drives the AI of InfoSight, because as you start building those signatures, you start scanning the installed base and you look for this combination of events that says, hey, this could be an issue, whether it's a performance issue or could be a problem with VMware, because that's some of the stuff that InfoSight found with Nimble, is that there were VMware problems with host bus adapters with certain firmware and those signatures, we're starting to get a lot of them. And so there's still a lot of work to do where nobody's running laps around the building about InfoSight having solved all the problems, but it's really coming on, and it's pretty cool.
You guys have any more questions or thoughts or anything?
I have a question. I don't know if we'll dive into it during the Primera portion, but are you able to say, I mean, for existing 3PAR customers who may be looking to Primera in the future. What are you able to say? What kind of time frame those customers may have before that?
We have no
ecosystem goes
plans. We have no plans to end of life 3PAR at this point.
Okay, so
yeah.
no plans to deprecate the
Right.
3PAR line.
No,
Okay.
no, and we'll continue to make. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but software enhancements to the 3PAR array.
Okay.
So customers can stay with it if they want. They can, like I said earlier, they can make their determination on go into Primera, and we do have some customers that are doing that now. We have some 3PAR customers who say, you know what, my next step is going to be doing Nimble, and that's great too. So, yeah, all of that works. So.
Yes, and again, apologies. So you should not be in any hurry because there is something called the timeless guarantee, and we'll mention some of that. So you can actually retain your media. You can move your media non-disruptively to Primera, so you will move when you feel right to do this. Okay?
Yeah, and it's a pretty transparent upgrade, right? From 3PAR to Primera, you can just move, right?
Well, it's non-disruptive. Otherwise, that's no good.
That was a big deal for us as we introduced Primera to make sure that it was, going to work for our 3PAR customers.
Well, actually, that brings up a question, though. So if you eventually get rid of Primera, or I'm sorry, 3PAR, does that mean that Primera is going to be moving down market into the business critical to replace the current 3PARs?
I think that is so far out that, we'll see, right? I think that we have pretty clear swim lanes, if you will, right, with Nimble and with Nimble and Primera these days. And probably if you were a greenfield customer and, an HPE sales rep or a partner came knocking on your door, they're going to talk to you about Nimble and they're going to talk to you about Primera, initially, and see which one fits, right? Based on your requirements and in your definition of tier 0 and tier 1. I don't really see that changing anytime soon, though, right? We're just getting started with that. So, I think that scenario is so far out that I don't know. I don't quite know how to answer that one yet, but
Okay.
But that's because, like I said, 3PAR is here for the foreseeable future. So.
It's too early because it's released in June. But what's some of the feedback from the early adopters and customers? I mean, it's shockingly different.
Yeah.
The Primera versus the 3PAR interface.
Yes.
For one thing. And just they were
Shocking in a good way.
shocking in a good way.
Yes.
Not appalling.
Right. Right. Not appalling. Good.
Not appalling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
context is king. So those things are important, but the customer feedback has been positive, I'm sure. I mean, what kind of notable remarks can you share?
So the most notable remark has been the 100% availability guarantee. I would say that customers are very intrigued by that, and they feel like, okay, you're defining this mission critical segment, right? And you're backing it up, right, with this 100% availability guarantee. So that's been a huge piece of feedback that we've gotten, that they've loved that. We did a video that just got released a couple of weeks ago with a customer who was the first up in Canada, up in British Columbia, Blue Shore Financial, and that's what he talked about, right? And we met him at Discover, right? He had been a 3PAR customer. We bumped into him there, and he was like so excited about it, but it had a lot to do with that 100% availability, because he's the admin, or he's the operations guy, and he's the one that, would have to take on that burden when there was not 100% availability, when there was, no availability or something like that. So he was very intrigued by that. So it's a cool video. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. Take a look.
There's also a short story I could tell that, Stephen, you guys got to meet Bart. You've met Bart before, but Bart was at Commvault Go last week, and he actually, before we launched Primera, when it was still a secret, and he actually didn't even know what the name of the product was, we were doing training for channel partners, and they randomly called him up. He'd never seen the product before, and they gave him the user interface and said, deploy this. And in 12 minutes, he had Primera up and running, ready to configure volumes. That's also the thing that's kind of really different, that it's simplicity that they've built into this. For a tier 0 array to be as simple as it is, there's a lot of intelligence built into it. And Alex will, I'm sure, talk a lot about that when we dive deeper into the Primera section, but it's easy to use. And a lot of that lesson is taken from Nimble.
Right.
We've learned a lot from the Nimble team.
Yeah. So Primera is like the best. It's the best of 3 worlds, right? It's not the best of both worlds. It's the best of 3PAR. It's the best of Nimble, and it's the best of InfoSight.
But you're going to pay more than you would for Nimble or 3PAR to get a Primera.
There's a cost for evolution, right?
Wait, they're not free?
Development. That's terrible.
So it's been it's been well received. And so to come back to your question, I think when people hear about it, they latch onto that 100% availability guarantee. When they see it, they see that's the new UI and the simplicity. I'm not going to say simplicity, the simplicity that we brought along with that. So.